Welcome to the You Are It Podacst. My name is Alejandra Orozco. I am a social science researcher and an energy healer. You Are It has been created to support you in expanding your perception of reality. You are loved and absolutely deserving simply because you are, not because of what you have accomplished. Join me and be ready to transform your beliefs and approaches as you enter the flow of becoming one with your highest good and your highest purpose. Hello, dear friends. Welcome to You Are It. Les habla Alejandra. In the first episode of Season 3, titled You Don't Have to Believe Me, I confidently said the first full episode of the season would be out in the first week of February. And here we are in the first week of March. So, how come, Alejandra? Well, life. Frequent travel across the Americas. Beautiful moments that somehow both bring me to my knees and fill me with deep joy. And apparently, divine timing runs on its own schedule. So, thank you for your patience. And maybe this, too, is part of the teaching. Everything unfolding exactly when it does. As I have already mentioned, this season I want to begin close to experience, not offering answers or conclusions, but with a place or a state of being that we often miss noticing, then witnessing, and ultimately diving into. The perspectives woven into this episode have been influenced by teachings shared by Bashar, by Robin Jelinek, who channels Athena, and by the lovely Allison Holley, as well as spiritual writings shared on the Anand Universe official YouTube channel. I will name these influences as we go, not to take them as authorities to follow, but as lenses that help us explore various aspects of reality. What I share today is not meant to become a belief system, and it is not a framework you need to adopt. It is a set of viewpoints, perceptions that might help you feel into something you already sense, a deeper layer of knowing that doesn't come from thought. Let us begin with something simple. What if this moment, the one you are experiencing as now, is not part of a sequence, not a point moving forward, not a slice between past and future, but a single point of experience that appears as change? And what if here, the place you take yourself to be located, is not a position in a space, but a perspective consciousness is using right now? Bashar often speaks about reality not as something we move through, but something we tune into, not traveling through time, not crossing a space, but shifting frequency. Notice what your mind does with this perception of reality. Does it try to measure it? Argue against it? Or compare it to what it already knows? If time feels linear, what if linearity is not a problem to solve, but one mode of experience, one way of looking? And what if another way of looking doesn't cancel this one, but rather includes it? There is a way of speaking about identity, reality, humanity that can pretty quickly start to harden into definitions. So let us approach these ideas gently. Many teachings that speak about consciousness, multidimensionality, or the soul are meant to loosen our sense of identity. They try to help us see that we are more than a body, more than a personality, more than a personal history. But something interesting often happens. The mind hears these ideas and quietly turns them into a new description of who we are. Instead of, I am just this person, it becomes, I am a multidimensional being, or I am pure consciousness, or I am the observer, not the body. Those statements may point towards beautiful and meaningful things, but the moment they are held as conclusions, identity becomes rigid once again. Only that this time it is expressed in more spiritual language. It is as if the mind says, oh, this is who I really am now, and builds a new structure to stand on. So, rather than trying to replace one definition with a better one, let us slow down here. Instead of asking what you are, notice that you are. Before the label, before the explanation, before the philosophy, there is an experience of being simple, immediate, wordless. This episode is not inviting you to adopt a new identity like consciousness or soul or multidimensional self. It is inviting you to notice the field in which all identities appear. Not to think about it, but to sense it. The part of you that is aware of thoughts, aware of sensations, aware of emotions, that awareness itself doesn't need a title. And when you rest there, even briefly, you may notice something changes. Perception becomes softer, less filtered through the personal history, less managed by the 3D mind trying to define, control, and conclude. There is simply experiencing happening. And from there, the ideas about parallel realities, frequency, spirit, or the nature of form are not things you must believe. They become different ways of describing something you may already be quietly sensing. So, as we continue, see if you can listen from there, not from the part of the mind that wants to decide what is true, but from the deeper awareness that is already here before any choosing or decision is made. Coming back to our topic, there is a suggestion shared by Bashar that we are not a single self moving through a timeline, but consciousness selecting frames of experience, like choosing stations on a radio. You don't gradually arrive at a frequency. You are either tuned to it or you are not. What if what you call your life is a continuous act of tuning? When an idea suddenly arrives, when inspiration feels immediate, what if that is not something you produced, but something you resonated with? You can simply notice the experience itself. Knowing appears without effort. Where does it come from? And where does it appear? At this point, some traditions would say, you are in a spirit right now. And maybe that sentence can feel a bit too much, too fast. So instead, just notice this. Is there an awareness here that is noticing your thoughts, your sensations, your emotions, without being any one of them? David Hawkins described it simply. You are not the phenomena. You are the space in which phenomena arise. You don't have to decide if that is true. Just notice whether experience is happening to something or in something. And here is where something really interesting comes into this conversation. There is a moment in the Bhagavad Gita, the ancient dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, a metaphor for the inner struggle we all know so well, where Arjuna says he understands intellectually that the world is Maya or illusion, yet the pain, the weight of experience still seems so real. He is asking, if Maya is unreal, why can't I simply drop it? He knows, in theory, the world is not ultimately real, and yet the felt experience still grips. This reflection on that exchange reminds us that knowing intellectually is not the same as dissolving identification. What feels heavy does so because awareness is still caught in the experience. The seeing is not yet complete. The identification has not fully relaxed. So, you can't fight illusion or push it away, or insist it goes somewhere else, because the one who is fighting is part of the illusion. But seeing is different. The moment a thought, a fear, or a sense of self is seen as something appearing in awareness rather than something you are, a little space opens. That seeing is not effort, it is recognition. If that space is here now, then physical reality may not be a mistake to escape. It may be, as Bashar suggests, a gift of limitation. Not limitation as perceived failure, but limitation as a means of focus. Perhaps even a way in which infinity experiences texture. Because what we call limitation might not be the point of failure. It may be the mechanism, the narrowing of awareness into this body, this history, this perspective. And that may be what allows experience to matter. Some teachings suggest humans are masters of limitation, capable of forgetting infinity so thoroughly that remembering becomes so meaningful. Notice what happens in you when you hear that. Resistance? Relief? Curiosity? Even if all of this were true, you might still be asking, why does it hurt? Why does experience sometimes feel so overwhelming? And here is where the insights about surrender from Athena come in. Surrender not as giving up, but as allowing what is arising, without needing to fix it immediately. Not because suffering is good, but because resistance fractures attention. What if pain is not punishment, but information? What if intensity is a place where awareness is being asked to soften rather than control? And Allison Holley offers a sweet image I want to bring in here. The body as a kind of prism, not solid matter in the way we assume, but light appearing as form. You don't have to take that literally. Just notice your direct experience. Your body is changing constantly. Sensations shift, cells renew, yet something remains present through all of it. What if your form, the way you look, the way you move through the world, is a specific interface for experience? Not something you judge into perfection, but something to be curious about. What is this form allowing you to learn about perception, identity, and reflection? So maybe this episode is not really about multidimensionality, or time, or frequency. Maybe it is about something simpler. Who are you before you describe yourself? Who remains when experience is allowed to unfold without immediate commentary? Recognition doesn't happen through effort. It happens through allowing. I wonder if it shows how I love the honesty, the courage, the tenderness and vulnerability, but also the challenge. This kind of listening and being present in experience is asking of all of us, me included. Well, especially me, actually, to simply be without needing immediate answers. None of us is ahead of the other. I am, like you, learning how to connect to awareness in this deeper way as I go. If something in you recognized this, just notice what notices. I love you all absolutely dearly. Les habla Alejandra, and you have been listening to You Are It. Thank you for being here. Until next time, take care of the tenderness of your own experience and your heart. Rumi once said, "You search the world for treasures, but the real treasure is yourself." This is the essence of our message on the You Are It podcast. You are the treasure waiting to be discovered or enjoyed. You are the flame that never consumes itself and the light that shines everywhere. Now you are home. Please know that you are most welcome. Stay tuned as we look forward to sharing something of value on every episode.